this is Jennifer Vanderbeek, Imagine Artist in Residence, and in today's video I'm going to show you how I made this textured watercolor look background card using some Memento Inks. To get started, I need some heavy-duty white cardstock because we're going to be using some wet media. That means it's always going to need heavier cardstock. And then I am going to use my Memento ink in Elderberry, and I'm going to work directly on the craft mat. So your craft mat is very important to this technique, and so I'm just going to spritz it with a little bit of plain water, and I'm going to wiggle the craft mat around and let the ink spread around, and I'm going to pick it up with the cardstock. I'm going to do this a couple of times, and I'm going to do multiple layers so that I can get a little bit of depth of color and some variation. And I'm also going to do this on 2 pieces of cardstock because you never know how it's going to turn out. The wonderful thing about this is how random it is, and just going ahead and doing 2 card fronts means that I have more options to play with, and if I mess one up, then I can keep going with the other piece of cardstock. Now I want to make sure this is completely dry, because if I continue to work on it while it's damp, I could risk pilling the paper on this next step or just tearing it straight out or wrinkling it, and I don't want to do that. So I'm going to take a sponge dauber and I am going to sponge around the purple areas that I've picked up with the direct on the craft mat method. And this to me is creating kind of a moody background, perfect for this time of year if you're doing Halloween cards, but you know, it could work for anything where you want some drama. And I am going to run both panels through my die cut machine with an embossing folder. And now I'm going to go back and I'm going to repeat the process with the elderberry ink and the water on the craft mat, and I am going to let it focus, and I'm not going to press hard into the ink. I am going to just kind of skim it along the surface so that those raised areas from the embossing folder are going to be the ones that pick up that ink color, again creating more depth. I'm going to go back in with more of the Versa magic and just kind of play up some of those shadows, and again I'm going to make sure this is fully dry before I continue. So now I have this stamp. This is from Viva Las Vegas Stamps. It's this great tree image where the tree kind of dissolves into a flock of birds taking flight. It's really cool, really evocative. I'm not going to put it on a block because the surface of my cardstock is varied. I want to be able to really press it into place. And what I found is that the second image I did was stronger. So we're going to use that to continue the card. And on its own, this could be a striking card. I'm going to gild the lily a bit by running the edges over my Memento Tuxedo Black ink, just to kind of, give a little bit of a border there. And now it's all that's left is really to embellish it. So I looked into my stash and I came up with a scrap of organdy ribbon in a deep dark purple that really goes well with the elderberry ink, and I'm going to run that through the Create a Sticker so that I have a good even coverage of adhesive on the back. And then I've also got some baker's twine in green and purple to complement the ink colors that we used, and as well as a variegated eyelash yarn that has like the green, the purple, and some oranges and some other color variations. And I'm going to use these are old school. I've had these in my stash for a long time, but I know that companies are still making these. They are center drilled beads with words on them. In this case, it is Believe, Dream, and Imagine. And I'm going to thread those onto some lengths of twine and then knot each end, kind of keep them in place, kind of get them where I want. And then I'm going to plan, I want the eyelash yarn kind of in the background, kind of creating a little bit more of texture. And sometimes you just got to go old school. Scotch tape is really good for holding these really fiddly things like eyelash yarn. Makes it very easy to make sure that it's well secured on the back of the card front. It's easy to trim away the excess. And now I can work on nestling my word beads in between and around the eyelash yarn. I'm going to do that with some drying liquid glue to make sure it's got a very sturdy hold, and then trim off the excess. Make sure my knots are glued down too. And then to mount it to my card front, I'm going to use some strips of tear it tape. because of the texture of the embossed panel, I want to make sure that I've got a really good strong adhesive. So Tear It tape is really, really going to work well for this, and I can gently press it into the card without disturbing any of the texture I've created with that embossing folder. And there we have the finished card. I really love the texture that the embossing folder gave to the card, to the background. It is a little tricky then to stamp on top of that, so you could certainly choose to stamp your image before you emboss it. Whatever works for you. I hope you've enjoyed this project. I hope it's giving you some ideas, maybe get you digging into your stash to see if you have any interesting supplies waiting to be used. Once again, I am Jennifer Vanderbeek for Imagine Crafts, and if you would like more tips and inspiration, please point your browser to imaginecrafts.com.